Adjectives, degrees of comparison. Adjectives, degrees of comparison. The adjectives change in form to show comparison. They are called the degrees of comparison. There are 3 degrees of comparison: positive degree, comparative degree, and the superlative degree. Let's understand the first degree of comparison, the positive degree. The positive degree shows an adjective in its simple form when no comparison is practically made. Look at the following example. She has a big house. So the highlighted word big is an adjective. It is in the positive degree. So in the positive degree, no comparison is made. It is an adjective in its simple form. The comparative degree. The comparative degree refers to a greater degree of adjective as compared to the positive degree. It is used to compare two objects, people, or place. Note, the comparative degree is generally followed by than. Look at the following example. Her house is bigger than my house. So bigger is the adjective in the comparative degree. It compares two objects. So here it is comparing two houses. Bigger than, and the comparative degree bigger is followed by than. So bigger, the highlighted word bigger is an adjective in the comparative degree. The superlative degree. The superlative degree refers to the greatest degree of adjective. It is used to compare more than two objects, people, or places. Look at the following example. Her house is the biggest of all. So biggest, the highlighted word, is an adjective in the superlative degree. The superlative degree compares more than two objects, people, or places. So here 3 objects or 3 houses are compared. And the sentence is, a house is the biggest of all the houses. So biggest is an adjective in the superlative degree. Note, the superlative degree is preceded by the. The meaning of preceded is before. So the comes before the superlative degree and is generally followed by of. So this is of. So the precedes and of is followed in the superlative degree. So biggest is an adjective in the superlative degree. Let's understand how comparatives and superlatives are formed. Comparatives and superlatives are formed by adding ER and EST to the positive. Look at this following table. Positive, comparative, superlative. So you form the comparative by adding ER to the positive, and you form the superlatives by adding EST to the positive. Look at these examples. Bold, bolder, boldest. Clever, cleverer, cleverest. Kind, kinder, kindest. Sweet, sweeter, sweetest. Great, greater, greatest. So these are some of the examples. You form the comparative by adding ER to the positive, and you form the superlative by adding EST to the positive. When the positive ends in Y preceded by a consonant, the Y is changed into I before adding ER and EST. Look at the following examples. This is the table: positive, comparative, and superlative. So the word in the positive is easy. It ends in Y, E-A-S-Y. It is preceded by the consonant S. S is the consonant. So the Y changes to I before you add ER or EST. So in the comparative, it will become easier, and in the superlative it becomes easiest. So the Y changes to I. In the comparative you will put ER, so the word is easier. In the superlative the Y changes to I and you will write EST. So the word becomes easiest. So easy in the positive, easier in the comparative, and easiest in the superlative. Some more examples. Happy, happier, happiest. Heavy, heavier, heaviest. Merry, merrier, merriest. Wealthy, wealthier, wealthiest. When the positive ends in E, only R and ST are added. Look at this table: positive, comparative, superlative. The word in the positive is able. It ends in E. So you will add only R and ST, R in the comparative and ST in order to make the superlative. So the word is able. In the comparative, it will become abler. In the superlative, ablest. The next example: brave, braver, bravest. Fine, finer, finest. White, whiter, whitest. Noble, nobler, noblest. So when the positive ends in E, you will only add R and ST. R to make the comparative and ST to make the superlative. When the positive ends in a single consonant preceded by a short vowel, this consonant is doubled before adding ER and EST. Look at this table: positive, comparative, superlative. So when the positive ends in a single consonant, the word is big. It's ending in G. G is the consonant preceded by a vowel. I. I is a vowel. Precede means coming before this consonant G. So we are supposed to double it. The consonant has to be doubled before adding ER and EST. So the word is big in the positive. It will become bigger in the comparative and biggest in the superlative. So you have doubled the consonant G. In the comparative, you will add ER. So it becomes bigger. In the superlative, again, you have doubled the consonant G. You will write EST and the word is biggest, which is in the superlative degree. Another example: thin, thinner, thinnest. Fat, fatter, fattest. Hot, hotter, hottest. Sad, sadder, saddest. So when the positive ends in a single consonant preceded by a short vowel, the consonant has to be doubled before adding ER and EST. Comparatives and superlatives are formed by adding the adverbs more and most, less and least with the positive. Look at the following table: positive, comparative, superlative. So here are a few examples. If in the positive the word is beautiful, in the comparative it will be more beautiful or less beautiful. In the superlative, most beautiful, least beautiful. Qualified, in the comparative, more qualified or less qualified. In the superlative, most qualified, least qualified. Ordinary, in the comparative, more ordinary, less ordinary. In the superlative, most ordinary, least ordinary. In the positive degree, proper. In the comparative, more proper, less proper. In the superlative, most proper, least proper. The next example: important, more important, less important. In the comparative degree. In the superlative degree, most important, least important. Irregular adjectives have generally separate words as their comparatives and superlatives. Look at the following examples. Look at this table: positive, comparative, superlative. So these are certain irregular adjectives. In the positive, it is good. In the comparative, it becomes better. Superlative is best. Bad, worse, worst, many, more, most, much, more, most, little, less, least, far, farther, farthest. So these are certain examples of irregular adjectives which have separate words to form their comparatives and superlatives. Let's do an exercise. Complete the following using the appropriate form of the adjective. The first sentence, she is dash than her sister. So the alternatives, pretty, prettier, prettiest. So the correct answer is prettier. She is prettier than her sister. Prettier is in the comparative degree. You see the Y changes to I and you add ER to form the comparative. Again, Y changes to I and EST to make the superlative. But here the correct form of adjective is prettier. She is prettier than her sister. So prettier is in the comparative degree, followed by than. The second sentence, Martha is a dash girl. The alternatives, nice, nicer, nicest. So the correct answer is Martha is a nice girl. Nice is in the positive degree. It is the simplest form of adjective when no comparison is made. Third, Supriya is the dash girl in the class. The alternatives, intelligent, more intelligent, most intelligent. So the correct answer is Supriya is the most intelligent girl in the class. Most intelligent is in the superlative degree. Russia is the dash country in the world. The alternatives, big, bigger, biggest. So the correct answer is Russia is the biggest country in the world. So biggest is in the superlative degree. I am dash than you. Alternative, smart, smarter, smartest. So I am smarter than you. Smarter is in the comparative degree. Smarter than. Comparative degree is followed by than. Ends in ER. So smarter is in the comparative degree. Nina is as dash as her brother. Alternatives are tall, taller, tallest. So the correct answer is tall. As tall as. It is in the positive degree. Tall is in the positive degree. Interchange of the degrees of comparison. So you have to interchange the sentence from one degree of comparison to another degree of comparison without changing the meaning of the sentence. Let's read and understand these examples. In the superlative degree, the sentence is Shakespeare is the greatest writer in English. See your children, the greatest is highlighted. So when in the superlative it is the EST, how do we change it into the comparative and the positive degree? So in the comparative, it will become greater than any other. We know that the comparative has to be ER than. So here in the comparative, it will go greater than any other. So the sentence will be Shakespeare is greater than any other writer in English. In the positive degree, you will begin with no other, as great as or so great as. But I have taken it as great as. So you will begin the positive by writing no other writer in English is as great as Shakespeare. The second sentence, Kolkata is the biggest city in India. This is also the same way, the same example. You have to do it in the similar manner. So the biggest. So here it will be bigger than any other. Bigger than any other is highlighted. So when the sentence is Kolkata is the biggest city in India, in the comparative it will be Kolkata is bigger than any other city in India. And in the positive you will start with no other city in India is as big as Kolkata. Another example, the Taj is the most beautiful building that I have ever seen. So it is the most beautiful. So the most beautiful in the superlative. So in the comparative, it will be more beautiful than any other. So the sentence in the comparative will be the Taj is more beautiful than any other building I have ever seen. Over here in the positive, you'll begin with no other as beautiful as. So the sentence will be no other building I have ever seen is as beautiful as the Taj. So remember children, when it is the greatest or the EST, you will write the comparative as ER than any other. And in the positive, you will write no other as great as or as small as. Look at the other example. In this example, it is one of the EST. Look at the sentence. Maharashtra is one of the largest states in India. Here it is one of the largest. It is not the largest, but one of the largest. So when it is one of the largest, in the comparative, you will say larger than most other. Look at the difference. Here it is greater than any other, but here it is larger than most other. This is when in the superlative it is one of the EST, one of the largest. So in the comparative it will be larger than most other. So the sentence will be Maharashtra is larger than most other states in India. And in the positive, you will begin with very few. You see, I have highlighted in blue very few, as large as. So the sentence in the positive, very few states in India are as large as Maharashtra. Another example, Mahatma Gandhi was one of the greatest Indian leaders. So again, one of the greatest. So in the comparative, it will be greater than most other. So the sentence in the comparative, Mahatma Gandhi was greater than most other Indian leaders. And in the positive, you'll begin with very few, as great as. So the positive degree will be very few leaders were as great as Mahatma Gandhi. So children, look at these examples. This is a particular way in which you will interchange from the superlative, the comparative and the positive degree. When it is the EST, greater than any other, ER than any other, and you will begin the positive, no other, as great as. And when it is one of the EST, or it is one of the largest, then you will write the comparative as ER than most other. Here it is larger than most other. And in the positive, you will write, or you will begin by writing very few, as large as, or as whatever as. So very few states in India are as large as Maharashtra. Another example to interchange the degrees of comparison. When a comparison is made between two people or things, we normally do not use the superlative degree. The interchange is possible only with positive and comparative. Look at the following examples. The first sentence, the pen is mightier than the sword. It's in the comparative degree. Two things are compared. So in such a case, you do not change it to the superlative degree. You have to change it to the positive degree. So the answer in the positive degree is the sword is not as mighty as the pen. We know that in the positive degree, it has to be as good as, or as mighty as, so good as, or whatever, as dash as. That's the positive degree. So here the positive degree, the sword is not as mighty as the pen. The second sentence, I am not so wise as he. It's in the positive degree. Here also your two people are compared. So wise as. In the comparative, he is wiser than me. We know in the comparative, er than. So the sentence is he is wiser than me. You could also write he is wiser than I am. The next sentence, Maria is not as intelligent as Sonia. Positive degree, as intelligent as. So in the comparative, Sonia is more intelligent than Maria. More intelligent than. So when the comparison is made between two people or things, we do not use the superlative degree. The interchange is possible only with positive and comparative. Let's do an exercise. Interchange the degrees of comparison of the following sentences. The first sentence, Tenali Raman was the greatest of all scholars. This is in the superlative degree, the greatest. So you will have to interchange it into the comparative and the positive degree. So in the comparative, it will be ER than any other. So the sentence in the comparative, Tenali Raman was greater than any other scholars. In the positive, you will begin with no other. So the sentence will be no other scholar was as great as Tenali Raman. So children, I have highlighted it in red. When it is the EST, the greatest, then in the comparative, you will write ER than any other. So here it is greater than any other. And in the positive, you will begin with no other as great as. Follow this sentence pattern. The second sentence, Sonia is one of the most beautiful girls in the class. This is in the superlative degree. Now here the sentence is one of the most beautiful. So in the comparative degree, you will write more beautiful than most other. So the sentence is Sonia is more beautiful than most other girls in the class. And in the positive degree, you will begin with very few. So very few girls in the class are as beautiful as Sonia. So follow this sentence pattern. When it is one of the most beautiful, then more beautiful than most other. And you in the positive, you will begin very few as beautiful as. The third sentence, this razor is not as sharp as that one. Here there is a comparison made between two razors. So there is no superlative degree. You will either interchange it into the positive or the comparative, whatever is asked. So this is positive, you will make it into the comparative. And this answer is that razor is sharper than this one.